What's going on, everybody? Marty here from Heavy Metallurgy. It's been a while since I've shot just a standalone actual video, but a buddy over at MetalMickey posted a thread today, and Jurgen jumped on it as well, and I found it kind of interesting. It's called the Blinkers thread, and to describe it, it is basically... If any of you have watched MetalMickey, I'm going to put a link to the video that this response is to, and please just go check out his channel. Mike has got very strong opinions on music, and I really find that refreshing. He doesn't like everything. He even dislikes some classics. And again, I find it refreshing. A lot of people quoting him... Context. Let's start there. Context. He was talking to a friend of his, and Mike said, name 5 crappy death metal records from the years 1991 through 1993. Or maybe it was thrash metal. I don't know. I don't remember exactly the story. But the guy said, I don't know. I can't. They're all awesome. And he said, that's the blinkers. They put the blinkers on. I guess here in America it would be called the blinders, putting your blinders on and seeing only good. And, you know, this is obviously an opinion-based thread. So, yeah. And I've done videos like this in the past where I talked about albums or bands worth complaining about. And those tend to get a lot of views. You know, usually you talk negativity on YouTube, people flock to it. But so basically he posed a challenge to other YouTubers to pick 5 death metal, 5 thrash metal, 5 glam metal. He tried to cover a swath of people, knowing that not everybody in the metal VC was into the same stuff. I'm just going to go through death metal and thrash, and the years for death metal are 91 through 93, and the years for thrash are 86 through 88. So again, you know, the opinions I'm about to express are my own. I'm willing to talk about them in the comments. They do not reflect anybody else that is a part of this channel. Again, it's just a fun thread, something to talk about. And I tried to pick things that I had never shown on here complaining about before, but I think there's some of these that I haven't complained about a lot. So I tried to do my best, but I've got 5 death metal-ish releases, and I've got 5 thrash metal releases. So, and I initially went into this just picking things that I disliked, but then I'm checking the years, and they weren't within the age range, and for sake of, you know, following the rules, I decided to just stick to the years that Mike picked to for this exercise. But I did not do any glam because I don't have much of it. I have some, but not much. So yeah, let's get started with death metal. Let's get started with 1991. Both of these releases I've shown in the past. Both of these releases are widely regarded as classics, which... all intents and purposes, they are. And do I loathe every note on these albums? No, I don't. I think they're overrated. I think it's just kind of bottom of the barrel death metal. First off, I've talked about this one before, and so we're going to start this off right away and get everybody good and irritated. This is From Beyond by Massacre. Cam Lee, Rick Ross, Bill Andrews on drums. Basically... it's Leprosy era death, but Cam Lee singing. And man, I always hated the cover art. I'm not the world's biggest replica fan. I mean, this to me is phoned in replica art. The guitar tone on here is pretty sharp. There's some cool riffs on here. It's old school death metal, which, you know, I love it. It's great. But these songs to me always really struck me as, oh yeah, Terry Butler on bass as well. Bill Andrews, Rick Ross, Terry Butler, which were, you know, the Leprosy era of death. This, for me, I think the songs are pretty predictable and pretty boring. And honestly, I prefer Death's Leprosy. This to me, It's just run-of-the-mill, okay death metal. It's okay. Do I love it? No. Do I hate it? I don't hate it, but I haven't listened to this tape in a long time. Maybe I should revisit it, but when I did get it back in the day, I put it on, I got to know the songs, but it never fully clicked. It wasn't taking me away from my Death or other records from the genre. Next up, another one I've talked about on here in the past, and this one was very much, they sung this band's name from the mountaintops back in the day, and that's Cancer, Death Shall Rise. Not a big fan of the debut either, To the Gory End. I know people are like, you're crazy, this album's a classic. Yeah, it is. It's in the time frame. It's got James Murphy on it, but which album back in the day was James Murphy not on? I mean, he kind of became the gunslinger for hire, but this is a UK band, and I always thought this was just very simplistic, very predictable, just not my cup of tea. Again, some good songs on here and there, some cool solos. It was just the time. There was a lot of stuff popping up that had James Murphy on it, so there was an aura of familiarity going on through a lot of these releases, and these two just, I know people love it. That's cool, but sorry, just not for me. Another album, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I got 5 here. I may have shown this one too. And again, I don't hate this record. I just think this is, people are going to get angry, whatever. I'm not here to cause problems. I'm just here to cause discussion, right? Right? We can have a nice discussion, can't we? Anyway, Obituary, The Incomplete. Another one people regard it as a classic. And you know what? If it wasn't for Cause of Death, this would have been a classic to me. Cause of Death is a superior album. This is the follow-up to Cause of Death. And it's just Cause of Death Part 2. And then they went on to do Cause of Death Part 3, and then Cause of Death Part 4, and then they still are putting out Cause of Death records with a little bit of variation here or there. I don't hate Obituary. They're just kind of a one-trick pony for me. And, I mean, they call Cannibal Corpse the AC/DC of death metal. These guys are, man. These guys are to their detriment, I think. How many Obituary records do you need? The Incomplete, I have it. I like it. Whenever it's time for Obituary, this is not one I'm grabbing. And the last one. This one is from 1992. And again, this is a solid record. It's just kind of a mess. And, Morpheus Descends, Ritual of Infinity. Brutalish death metal from back in the day, from 1992. And when I bought this on tape on JL America, it sounded like a JL America band. If you've never heard of JL America, they kind of focused on, they put out Beherit in the U.S. I think they put out Impaled Nazarene. They put out some good shit. But they also put out a lot of stuff that was kind of run-of-the-mill. This Morpheus Descends is pretty underground sounding for death metal, but the production is really rough. It's really rough, and it's brutal death style vocals, and sounds very American for the time. It's not necessarily the Florida sound. It's more of the leaning towards the New York area sound. The songs themselves, it's just kind of riff salad style death metal. Some cool riffs here and there, a couple cool songs on here, but the fact that this band's entire catalog got reissued not too long ago on Dark Descent, and people were eating it up, which is cool. It's funny when I started looking through the dates on here and this one popped up, I went and revisited this, and it didn't really click for me back then, and it's just kind of a meh for me now. It's okay. Just pretty average. Is it a crap album? No, it's not a crap album. It's just kind of a mess. Underproduced. Much better bands out there in 1992 than this. Last one. This one might ruffle some feathers as well. I don't know if I've ever really talked about this one, but I realized when I saw it come up on the list that this is one of those albums that I like the idea of it. I love the technicality of it. I love the musicianship. I love the uniqueness of it, but I don't care. and that is Macabre's Sinister Slaughter. I know people are like, but I've never found serial killers fascinating. And people that glorify, and I just don't get it. I don't get that whole mentality. And then you take the serial killer motif and you mix it in with a bit of humor. Humor in metal, to me, I've always struggled with. Sometimes, Gwar can sometimes get away with some funny stuff here and there that I enjoy, but this is like thrashy death metal, and these guys are brilliant musicians. They write pretty catchy songs. I'm not the biggest fan of the vocals. The vocals lean more to the thrash side. I have a handful of Macabre albums, but I never, ever, ever, ever listen to them. I see people, talking about them online. Whenever they put out something new, people show them in the VC, and it makes me like, what am I missing? What am I missing? I pop this in, and again, I know the songs on here. I don't care. I just don't care about this style. Again, I've seen them live twice. They're amazing live too. Very good, talented. It's great as a 3-piece. They can pull this stuff off. Tight as hell, perfect. But don't care for the silliness. Could give a shit about serial killers, but I get why people like it. I get it. It's just not for me. So that's 5 death metal. Let's move into the thrash side of this exercise, which Mike threw out the dates, the years 1986 through 1988. So 3 years there. And I dug through the 96 pile, and of the list that I found online, nothing really jumped off the page at me as something that I disliked. Moving into 1987, little bit different situation here. Let's face it, thrash, as the years went on, things started to get a little more tired. As death metal was on its way up, thrash was on its way down. First up is from Wrath, Nothing to Fear. This is their second album. Came out in 1987. I checked online, and it's got 3 reviews on Metal Archives, and it has a review rating of 94%. Okay, cool. Pop this in again, because I remember getting this and being incredibly underwhelmed, and I popped it in again, and guess what? It's just pretty average thrash with a very silly singer singing through his nose going, kind of like a low-rent Blessed Death style of vocals, which the guy from Blessed Death is crushingly awesome. This guy here is singing through his nose and just kind of doing silly things over so-so music. If I spent some time with this and worked through the vocals, I might appreciate it a bit more, but they've got a handful of records. They reformed, like a lot of these old thrash bands do. They reform. They put out even more mediocre stuff. I mean, after hearing just their second album, if something came up cheap in front of me, I'd check it out as a morbid curiosity, but this just does not. This is a pretty crappy thrash record, in my opinion. Next up, an average record by otherwise a band that turned out to be pretty good, and that would be from Texas, Devastation's debut album, Violent Termination. Idolatry came out after this, is a great record, and Signs of Life is also a really good record. I've always been a little so-so on the singer, but here the vocals are really not good. The vocal placement, the lyrical delivery, very average. Music, very average, kind of riff salad again. They kind of maintained the riff salad thing throughout their career, but they got better at it. Here, it's fresh. It's not really... it just doesn't really come together and click. And with a weird, not a super great production, it doesn't really sell. The cover is the coolest thing about this record, in my opinion. I have not listened to it a ton because it never really set me on fire. This is a reissue from Defiled Records or Russian bootleg. I don't know, but Defiled Records, a US-based, I believe, label. Check it out. You might dig it, but I would put this in the pile with Wrath. This is also from 1987. Moving on to the biggest incriminating factor of 1987, one of them for me, and I'm even wearing a Celtic Frost t-shirt. That's Into the Pandemonium. I've shown this on here before and complained about it before, but I remember riding bikes with my friend down to the record store and grabbing the last copy of this on tape and just like, yes, I was like rubbing it in his face the whole way back to his house. Yeah, I got the new Celtic Frost. Take that. Yeah. Well, I put this on and they open up with Wall of Voodoo's Mexican radio cover, which I don't care what realm, dimension, planet you live on. That is never a good idea. Starting off the album with a cover, although some bands can get away with it, it's the wrong cover for the wrong band. Let's be honest. But there's a handful of good songs on here. But Tom changed up his vocals to be completely shy away from the gruff, shouting, nasty evil sound that he always did with Hellhammer and early Celtic Frost, and started doing through his nose. Some dancey stuff on here, drum machine. It's a band that had been sniffing their own farts for too long and finally decided that their farts smelled good. This is our avant-garde masterpiece. I mean, for the time, yeah, I guess it was kind of a bold thing to do, ballsy, but they would not achieve that avant-garde masterpiece until their final record in their career. Monotheist is an art piece and it's amazing. It's confused, transitional. The thing is, what they transitioned from the heaviness to this, to what came after it, it's just lost. They're lost. This is a confused record to me. So yeah, that's a 1987 mess from the thrash realm. All right, let's go to 1988. Yeah, this album, I could not go where this band wanted to. I could not go with them. I could not follow them. Suicidal Tendencies, How Will I Laugh Tomorrow When I Can't Even Smile Today. I love the debut Suicidal Tendencies album. I love it. It's a great West Coast hardcore album. It's hardcore. It's not metal. It's not crossover. It's a hardcore record. The songs are fast. They're pissed off. They're well written. They're unique sounding. They have their own sound. Once they did one album in that vein. Join the Army is starting to see a little metal creep in, and by the time they get here, they are deep into the thrash realm. And a lot of people applauded them for this transition. I did not care for it. And Mike's vocals on here it just sounds silly, and it's kind of run-of-the-mill thrash from this era, in my opinion. I know that's not a popular opinion, but again, we're just having a conversation here, right? Right. Yep. This, to me, I've got a handful of other releases of theirs that came after this. Don't care for them either. And I'm not the world's biggest funk fan when it comes to metal either. And last for this exercise, from 1988, we've got the drug-addled and wildly popular album. Third release from Megadeth, So Far, So Good, So What. Again, a handful of decent songs on here. Hate the boomy production. The songs are kind of a mess. They do a cover of Anarchy in the UK by the Sex Pistols, which, sorry Anthrax, sorry Megadeth. Doing Sex Pistols covers just don't work. You're not from England. The whole meaning of those songs just don't fit with an American band. I don't know. It's stupid. In My Darkest Hour is probably my favorite on here. This is overhyped. I really love the debut record. I love Peace Sells, and Rust in Peace is one of my favorite thrash albums. Top 10 thrash album for sure. It's amazing how they went from this and then going to Rust in Peace. It is a humongous jump in quality. This here, you could tell the heroin was running the show here, and it's sad. But, yeah, there's 10 records. Some of them suck, in my opinion. Some of them aren't bad, but none of them I ever really cared or listened to. So that's kind of how I gauged this thread response. And again, I'm going to put a link to Mike's thread in the description. Go check out his channel. I like what he does, man. I like his opinions. Whether I agree with him or not, it doesn't matter. I like seeing him go through the process of figuring out why he dislikes something. And usually the reasons he gives, I can see them working for him. You know, sometimes I don't agree with them. Sometimes I do. But go check out his channel. Go check out that thread. And yeah, there you go. There's a new video. Maybe one of these days I'll get around doing a collection update, but we'll see. Until the meantime, we'll see you on a random Wednesday or Friday night in the stream. And you all rule. Thank you so much for hanging out and checking this video out. Take care. Cheers.